Good evening, you are watching ReNEWS in English. I am Sona Tumanyan. As I have already reported, the Deputy Foreign Minister of Armenia is in Tehran these days. Relations between Armenia and Iran will never become the subject of geopolitical bargains, declared Armenia's Deputy Foreign Minister Vahan Kostanyan in an interview with the IRNA agency in Tehran. The Deputy Minister noted that Armenia places great importance on its relations with Iran, which have a millennia-long history and strategic significance. In response to Iran's concerns about the emergence of a new player in the region, Kostanyan assured that the United States will not play a negative role towards the countries of the region.
I came here with the message that Armenia has taken Iran's considerations into account and that these sensitive points have been factored into the preliminary negotiations regarding the transport connectivity project. Some details of the Trump project have already been decided and agreed upon. I have conveyed them to the Iranian side and am ready to announce them publicly. The plan is to register a company in Armenia whose shares will be divided between Armenia and the United States, but this does not mean a United States presence in the region's security sphere. We understand that this was one of the main concerns of the Iranian side, and I believe it has been dispelled.
Against the backdrop of Iran's concerns, let's return to the peace agreement. The government of Armenia insists that the details have not yet been discussed, but is also speaking about potential economic progress. Simon Hovhannisyan has covered this topic from multiple angles. Let's watch the report.
After the unblocking, who will carry out border and customs control on the road from Azerbaijan to Nakhchivan through Syunik? After the Washington documents, the Minister of Territorial Administration and Infrastructure considers one of the most important questions to be a technical one. And what will happen if Azerbaijan decides not to withdraw from the territories it has occupied from Armenia? The minister urges against speaking in hypotheticals.
Rest assured, those have been calculated, and I say again, any logic that will be incorporated into the future activities of the working groups will be protected by the four principles I mentioned.
Hudatyan believes that delimitation will happen peacefully. As for our question about calculating the risks, he does not elaborate. To place hope in documents in the 21st century means, at the very least, not realizing the challenges of the modern world, say experts with an opposing view.
The word peace is there, but we do not see any mechanism to guarantee peace. The talk here is of a bilateral commission. On what basis should a bilateral commission be able to reach an agreement? If it's bilateral, one side says X and the other side says Y. In that case, how will it be possible to reach a mutual understanding or agreement on the issue?
The international affairs specialist does not consider even the presence of the U.S. president a guarantee. Trump says, "Call me. I'll solve the problem." But what if one day Trump, let's say, becomes seriously ill or is no longer president? Who is going to solve the problem then?
With the declaration, Azerbaijan got what it dreamed of, and that was the elimination of any existing structure or resolution related to the Artsakh conflict. This refers to the Minsk Group and its substructures, as well as the effect of Section 907 in the United States, which was adopted in response to Azerbaijan's aggressive actions against Armenia and the Armenians of Artsakh.
The Minsk Group is gone, and that was Azerbaijan's long-held dream, according to the ambassador. And Aliyev's other dream was the road, which he got, albeit under American control, although, according to the government, it is under Armenia's sovereignty. Simon Hovhannisyan, Gevork Sianosyan, Levon Voskanyan, Edgar Guloyan, ReOpen Media.
The expanded format session of the EA-EU Intergovernmental Council has concluded. Following the session, more than 10 documents were signed, which mainly concern trade, customs administration, the development of transport infrastructure, the formation of common markets for oil and gas, and the development of markets for medicines and medical products. Armenia was represented at the meeting by Deputy Prime Minister Meher Grigoryan. He stated that the accelerated formation of common energy markets in the EA-EU will become the basis for equal conditions for economic activity.
В этом контексте Считаю необходимым еще раз подчеркнуть.
In this context, I consider it necessary to once again emphasize the importance of the Crossroads of Peace Regional Infrastructure Project, which we have initiated. Its purpose is to create reliable and interconnected transport routes, as well as to ensure stable regional development and the strengthening of economic ties among all interested states, based on the full respect for the sovereignty and jurisdiction of states, as well as the principle of reciprocity.
Today, the fate of Ukraine could be decided on a land that in fact belonged to the Russian Empire nearly 200 years ago. It was only after its sale that it would become clear that Alaska was a great source of income. Gold mines were discovered here. The USA reaped great benefits from this deal, especially during the Cold War. Simon Hovhannisyan reports.
Putin and Trump are meeting in Alaska, an American state that once belonged to Russia. How did it happen that the Russians, who by their own definition do not sell their homeland, at some point sold a huge part of their territory? So the year is 1867. An incredible deal takes place on the world map. The Russian Empire sells its vast territory in North America, Alaska, to the United States of America. Today, this seems unbelievable. At the time, it seemed foolish. Why did Russia decide to sell Alaska? In the mid-19th century, Alaska was not a source of income for Russia, but rather a headache. There were several main reasons for this. Financial crisis. Russia had just been defeated in the Crimean War, 1853 to 1856. The war had emptied the state treasury, and the empire urgently needed money. Inaccessibility and vulnerability. Alaska was located tens of thousands of kilometers from the capital, St. Petersburg. Maintaining and defending it was extremely expensive and difficult. The Russians feared that their main rival, Great Britain, which controlled Canada at the time, could easily seize Alaska in the event of a future war. They preferred to sell it to the USA, which was considered a friendly nation, rather than lose it in a war. Decline in revenue. Initially, the Russians were engaged in the profitable fur trade in Alaska, but by the 1860s, the animal population had sharply decreased, and the territory had become economically unprofitable. To whom and how was it sold? The main actors in the deal were Emperor Alexander II of Russia and U.S. Secretary of State William Seward. Seward believed that the United States should expand and viewed Alaska as strategically important territory. After long negotiations, the parties came to an agreement of $7.2 million. The aftermath, from Seward's folly to the gold rush. Not everyone in America was enthusiastic about this purchase. Many newspapers and politicians called it Seward's folly or Seward's icebox. People asked, what do we need that frozen desert for? However, history put everything in its place. Just 30 years after the deal, in 1896, a huge amount of gold was discovered in Alaska and the adjacent Canadian Yukon Territory. The famous Klondike gold rush began. Thousands of people flocked to Alaska in search of wealth. The $7.2 million spent by the U.S. was repaid many times over in a short period. Huge reserves of oil and gas were discovered here, as well as copper and timber, and immense fishing opportunities opened up. Strategic importance. During World War II, and especially during the Cold War, Alaska's strategic position became invaluable. It was the closest point in the U.S. to the Soviet Union, allowing for the deployment of military bases and radar stations. It turns out that Alaska might have shared the fate of the Trans-Caucasian Sejm, or it might have remained part of Russia, making the territory of the world's largest country even larger. Simon Hovhannisyan, ReOpen Media.
The large influx of Russians has long been no news for us, but as it turns out, Armenia is also an attractive destination for tourists from China, Japan, and the Scandinavian countries. Summer will be over in another 2 weeks, and until then, let's examine the tourism trends in Armenia with Monica Hayroyan.
Tourists walking through the sunny streets of Yerevan, map in hand and curiosity in their eyes, have become a part of our city today. For them, Armenia is a new and unknown book, with its pages opening at every corner.
Maybe it's history and a very famous theme here. Yeah, and this square, Republic Square, is very famous. Yeah, we Chinese people are very interested to this beautiful country.
According to Mekhak Aprasan, president of the Armenian Tourism Federation, the flow of tourists has grown noticeably since the COVID-19 pandemic, even setting new records for the number of visits in 2023.
In 2023, a significant growth of over 40% was recorded again, and the number of inbound tourist visits exceeded 2,300,000. Thus, we have already surpassed the figure of the pre-coronavirus period of 2019, because although growth was also recorded in 2021-2022, we had not yet reached the 2019 level in those years.
After the impressive tourist flow of 2023, a decline was recorded in 2024, which can be considered unprecedented in the history of Armenian tourism.
A decrease was also recorded in the first quarter of 2024. Note, original text mistakenly says 2025. And by the end of the first half of the year, a decline of about 4.1% was registered compared to the same period last year.
So, what is the reason for the decrease in the flow of tourists to Armenia? The specialist lists the reasons. First, the geopolitical situation in the region, as well as the fact that in a number of countries, Armenia is mistakenly presented as an unsafe destination.
Despite the fact that in many reputable non-official and non-governmental publications, Armenia is constantly included in the top 10, and sometimes even in the top 3, as one of the safest and most attractive countries in the world, the fact that it is presented with red lines, travel advisories, on official websites essentially has its negative impact. There has been a significant and in some cases unjustified price increase.
According to statistical data, Russia is first in the number of tourists visiting Armenia, and in recent years, Arab countries, which have been actively interested in our country, occupied the second position.
Although this decrease was significantly influenced by the reduction of visits from Russia, Russia still remains in first place in terms of the number of tourist visits. At the same time, interest in Armenia is gradually growing from the Gulf Arab countries. In addition, positive dynamics are also observed from China and other Far Eastern countries, and the Japanese market is recovering after the coronavirus. There is also tourist interest in Scandinavian countries.
We also tried to find out through a survey what particularly attracts tourists to Armenia and what prompted them to spend their vacation right here.
I heard that Armenia is a wonderful place, a very nice country with a lot of resorts and a lot of nature and water.
First of all, of course, the people. That is the most important, the most fundamental thing. The people are the main treasure. It's their kindness, their soul. Next is the food. It's unbelievably delicious. Wherever I go, it's always very tasty. And the third is the architecture.
We love being with our family and just exploring Yerevan and eating great food and just walking around at night.
It's a very nice city, country, good people, quiet people, very nice.
We came to our organization for 7 days. And we found out that Armenia is a very, very nice and polite people and very calm and very helpful. And you have an amazing, delicious food, actually. And I don't want to get fat after 7 days because here everything is about bread and bread and bread and bread. And come on, khachapuri, machapuri.
No, just a bit of rain would be great. So to cool down the weather a bit, but it's amazing still.
I am Armenian, but this is my first time here. I will come to Armenia every year. The standard is just super. Taxis, restaurants, hotels, everything is wonderful.
The word for thank you here is really long. It's hard to remember. Yeah, that one. Yeah. So we now just say merci.
According to experts, it is necessary to start thinking about investments and infrastructure development today so that growing demand turns into opportunities, not problems, allowing Armenia to welcome every visitor with preparedness, comfort, and high-quality services.
Fires have broken out again in Turkey's southern province of Mersin and Hatay. Hundreds of residents have been evacuated, reports Hurriyet Daily News. The wind is rapidly spreading the fire. On August 14, firefighting teams from Adana, Osmaniye, Hatay, Konya, and Karaman joined local teams under the coordination of the Directorate of Forestry and are continuing to battle the blaze. Turkey has been fighting intense forest fires caused by high temperatures since the end of June. Last month, the highest temperature was recorded in Turkey's southeastern Şırnak province at 50.5 degrees Celsius. In total, 18 people have died as a result of the fires. If you have ever seen the Eiffel Tower in the evening, then there is no need for lengthy explanations. You must simply be silent, watch, and enjoy. It is a gift for the eyes and for the soul. Your favorite music plays in your headphone. You gaze at the Iron Wonder, and it seems to breathe and live with you, to listen to you and to understand. I won't hesitate to say that it even steals your thoughts in the best possible sense of the word. How many confessions of love, tears of happiness, and promises of eternal love has that Parisian beauty heard. And now France will have a new Eiffel, similar in size but ready to bestow fairy tale emotions all over again.
One Eiffel Tower is not enough for France. Tourists and romantics can now make their proposals near a new red tower. The modest replica of the Eiffel Tower is located in an industrial park in France's eastern Alsace region. This tower is just a 1/10th scale model of architect Gustave Eiffel's masterpiece. The idea to create a replica of Paris's Iron Lady came from a metalworker, 77-year-old Jean-Claude Fassler, and his 22-year-old grandson.
I have long been a fan of Gustave Eiffel. The Eiffel Tower is the most famous monument in the world, so I wanted to do it, but I prefer the original.
Fassler took Eiffel's original designs and built his own, you could call it the Fassler Tower.
The two of us were able to get more work done than if there were 10 of us. I participate in everything. We design, we draw, we assemble.
The French grandfather and grandson hope that their tower will be greatly loved from the very beginning. Because, you see, Parisians didn't love the Eiffel Tower right away. In 1889, when the tower was built for the World's Fair, many Parisians, including famous intellectuals and writers, considered the tower a disgrace to Paris. Guy de Maupassant considered it tasteless. The writer hated the tower so much that, it is said, he often dined in the restaurant on its top floor as it was the only place from which the tower was not visible. As for the miniature being built in the Alsace region, a crane will lift and install it in its designated spot on August 26th. Anna Haratunyan, ReOpen Media.
At the ongoing Grand Chess Tour tournament in St. Louis, Levon Aronian is once again delivering fantastic performances. On the first day of the Blitz Chess Tournament, the Armenian chess player achieved excellent results, pulling 2 points ahead of his pursuer, his teammate on the U.S. team, Fabiano Caruana. Today, August 15, the final 9 rounds of Blitz Chess will be held. For more updates, follow us on YouTube, Telegram, Instagram, X, and Facebook. Daily news and full coverage are available on our official website. I am Sona Tumanyan. Stay informed with ReNews. Goodbye.